To everyone. Welcome to today's exclusive Fireside Chat, Future-Proofing Higher Education Networks. I'm Gina Lober, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today's session. We're joined by three exceptional technology leaders from top U.S. universities who are shaping the future of higher education through technology, innovation, and vision. We hope our conversation today will spark meaningful conversations about the transformative role of technology in redefining the university experience. A few housekeeping items before we get started. So yes, we are recording this session today, and we'll make sure that everyone who is able to attend or who has registered has a copy of that link for further distribution. And very important, if you have a question while we're going through our discussion, please post it in the Q&A. There are individuals that will be answering some of those questions throughout the session, and then we're going to open it up towards the end today for a little bit of live Q&A, and then we'll wrap with some closing comments. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's introduce each of you to our audience today. So in no particular order, I'm going to go to you first. Jorge, do you want to share a little bit about your background with ASU? Tell us about your.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Appreciate that. My name is Jorge de Cosio. I'm the Senior Director of Digital Infrastructure at Arizona State University. I've been with the university for the last 8 years in different positions, but now I'm leading everything that has to do with digital infrastructure, and within that, the network. And in the last 3.5 years, we have embarked in a gigantic project of network transformation with Arista as our partner. So looking forward to your questions, Gina. Thank you.
Thanks, Jorge. Glad to have you. Coming to you next, Ozzer. Share a little bit about you yourself and your background.
Hi there, Azhar Mughal. I'm Associate Director here at Caltech in the data networks. I'm here in this position for the last 4 years. In the past, I was at USC for about 4 years and back in Caltech for about 10 years in another research lab. You might have heard about the Big Bang Theory. So we were supporting the LHC, CMS, all those experiments. So very excited, to share the experiences, and we'll talk.
Awesome. Great. Coming to you next, Gary.
Likewise, thank you all for the opportunity to speak here. So my name is Gary Pickens. I'm the Director of IT Architecture for the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. It's a new role for us. I've been in it for about 6 months now. Prior to that, I was a network infrastructure manager. So think all the layer 1, 2, and 3 components for the university. And much like a lot of you all, we're in the midst of a significant transformation period as we modernize not just infrastructure, but just all manner of things that we're engaged with here. So looking forward to the conversation today, and thank you. And Gina, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's kick things off. So higher education is truly at a pivotal moment in time. Students, faculty, institutions are navigating unprecedented expectations with hybrid learning environments, personalized education, seamless digital ecosystems, and robust cybersecurity, all while balancing operational efficiency and operations. So as IT leaders, you're not just managing systems, you're architecting the future. You're enabling universities to deliver equitable access, you're fostering collaboration and preparing students for a rapidly evolving world. Today, we'll explore how strategic technology leadership can reimagine the university experience, making it more connected, inclusive, and forward-thinking. From leveraging AI and data analytics to modernizing campus infrastructure, we'll discuss challenges, opportunities, and bold ideas that are driving change. Our guests will share their experiences, their strategies, and lessons learned, offering practical insights you can take back to your institutions. So let's dive in with curiosity and a shared commitment to shaping the future of higher education. So the first question that I have for all of you, and I'm going to take turns going to each of you first, so just so you know. Tell us a little bit about, and I'll come to you first, Jorge, the technology landscape, as it's evolving, how has ASU faced these challenges, and what are some key strategies that you've implemented?
Absolutely, Gina. Wow. When you talk about challenges and pain points, at ASU, scale is our everyday reality, right? We have thousands of classrooms, labs, research centers, online learners to serve, and everyone expects seamless, always-on connectivity. That's the challenge, right? That's what everybody's expecting. When you talk about the network is, you make an assumption that it's going to be there. So our strategy has been to simplify, by standardizing on a single OS across the entire network. Obviously, with Arista as our partner, we have taken out complexity and reduced the train overhead, and on top of that, we have implemented infrastructure as a code. That has been revolutionary for us. The Wi-Fi automation has been another thing that has done a lot for us too. So that allows to move fast, to troubleshoot proactively, and to do different things. So keeping these experiences consistent for both faculty and students has been key. And I have to add that Arista has been a great partner, more than a vendor. They have worked with us through this process, right? The point where we're at, basically, where, more than half of our network functionality is based on all these, has been based on that partnership. But all in all, simplification has been one of our best strategies.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jorge. Gary, coming to you next with that same question. Tell us how UT is facing the new technology landscape, and what are some of the key strategies that you're implementing?
Yeah, for sure. So we have not only do we have change in like the technology landscape, but we have experienced some exponential growth in our university. So for context, in 2019, we were at 28,000 students, and that's for the Knoxville campus. This fall, we're at 41,000 students, and we're expected to grow to 55,000 students by 2030. So that's creating stress on all manner of things. So not just new technology, but to Jorge's point, it's a scale challenge as well. And there's two primary conduits through which that we are affecting that challenge. So one is organizational constructs. So within our central IT office, and I'm going to some of these are going to be specific to IT, some of them are a little bit broader for us as an institution. So we have embraced new teams. So like the IT architecture team is one of those. We've deployed a new data governance team. We now have a dedicated AI team that is helping our campus partners on integrating AI technology. We have adopted a converged model for our organization. So our IT office for our system level team, and then the campus level, we've converged into a single IT organization. We have delivered a department to focus solely on our online students. We've engaged our campus partners in different ways to affect decentralized IT procurements. And that's all on the organizational side. On the technology side, word of the day is modernize. No stone unturned for that. So we're full speed ahead with moving everything to the cloud. So that's primary enterprise applications. We have just started a re-architecting of our campus network environment. Enterprise applications are moving. We're modernizing all those. And then probably the one that's the most decisive out of all of that is relooking our identity, or our approach to identity. That's becoming the center of gravity for a lot of the technical efforts that we're looking to accomplish. And the last parting bit I will say is part of our charter that we've been given from our leadership is when it comes to modernization, it is not like what we do not want to do is take a legacy process and overlay it on a modern tool. As we look to adopt new tools, let's look to adopt new ways of doing business, because a lot of our assumptions for how we deliver our services no longer hold true because of growth and scale, new technologies, and so on. I'll pause there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gary. All right, Ozzer, coming to you. Tell us a little bit about how Caltech is evolving, and what are some of the strategies you've implemented as it relates to some of the changes that we're seeing in high tech?
Yeah, essentially, all the campuses are different. For example, Caltech is a small campus, but more research oriented. So you won't see that many students, but more researchers and the labs. And that's how, the Caltech has been known for its presence in the higher ed. Our biggest challenge was, just like every other campus is the aging infrastructure. So we started that effort to modernize it, and we partnered with Arista a few years ago. And many of our research labs, for example, the big labs, if I name them, like HEP, high energy physics, which works for the Big Bang Theory or the LHC, the IPAC, or the LIGO Research Center. So these are the heavy demanding labs that we have, and we never had an opportunity to provide them a fault redundant backbone so that they can effectively do their research. So the campus was either you build your own fiber up to the service provider, or this is what you have. So we focused on building a full-scale infrastructure that replaced our legacy standard 3-tier architecture. We deployed like EVPN, redundant 25 gig, 100 gig, 400 gig infrastructure. And with the EVPN, what we are now able to offer to all our research and within our infrastructure support as well is the segmentation, a proper segmentation approach. Stretching the layer 2 VLANs everywhere. It does not scale, as everyone has talked about. And this is something that is, as Jorge talked about, always on, right? So these things definitely cripple the environment if you have one side making a spanning tree, event, right? We all have gone through those things. So this is like a lot more effort on the modernization of the infrastructure, and reaping the benefits of the of the modern day technologies like EOS, as we have talked about, like easy to operate, and a lot more focus on the FTEs as well, a training so that we have a proper sustained staff who is there, who can support less number of vendors and more focus on a single vendor. So they have the right expertise and capabilities to manage and operate and understand, deep dive on what they are doing, right? In addition, AI, machine learning is everywhere. So we are focusing on building up data centers, providing 800 gig, 400 gig as interconnect backbones to those data centers. Technology innovation everywhere, modernization, high-speed links, throughput, segmentation. Those are some of the benefits that this basic stuff that provides, right?
Okay, awesome. So staying with that, Ozzer, you mentioned a little bit about this, with the advent of AI and the adoption of emerging technologies within higher education, AI and machine learning, virtual reality as well, it's becoming integral with education and research. And in particular there at Caltech, I'd be curious to hear your perspective on how are these technologies shaping your networking strategy? You mentioned a little bit about that, but anything else that you might expand on?
Right. So on the AI and machine learning, it's a start everywhere, right?
Okay.
It's not a product that has been there for so long, but it has been coming very fast. For example, tools like that our infrastructure or the campus-wide Copilot everyone is using from the AI side, right? But that's just an application side. But if you talk about building the data centers, so yes, there's a move towards a growing need for an in-house data center that only can that provides researchers in-house these capabilities. But then there are challenges, not just the switches or the network devices, but it also talks about the cooling, the power, how do you cool those data centers, right? So those are the added challenges. For example, you definitely need like a liquid cooling. Otherwise, the existing data centers, it's hard to have hundreds and thousands of those H200 devices, right? From NVIDIA. So definitely there are new modernization ways which are coming in to control the heat and provide the best performance out of that load. Yeah.
Thank you. Jorge, same question to you. Tell us a little bit about how ASU is, managing the advent of emerging technology, specifically AI and machine learning and what we just discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that AI has been the word of the day for the last years, right? I mean, we talk about it every day. AI and machine learning is part of our daily conversation, to the point that at ASU, we have created an AI acceleration team, right? That is fully dedicated to work not only in the networking space, but in different spaces around the university for our enterprise technology group. So it's not only about, research or more than, but it's also how we run our network. So particularly here at ASU, AI-driven telemetry and analytics, we're trying to explore and get into that so it helps us to predict issues before they impact students or faculty, right? That's, to me, key when you're providing this kind of service. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in the audience doesn't like when you're notified about an event by a user, right? So we have to be good enough to predict and be able to analyze and actually resolve before this actually has any impact on students or faculty. So the reliability is critical, regardless if you're running a high performance research cluster or delivering hybrid classes. So with Arista and coming that and putting all these together, the automation and visibility, that telemetry is built in, right? So we are not building really in complexity. It does align naturally with what we are looking for in our AI strategy. So we're trying to put that together. We're evolving, given the advantages that this technology gives us, right? So we're developing new models or new agents that actually are able to see what is going out and at least tell us that something is going on. With the combination of all the automation and CVAS and different things, we are moving forward. I'm going to tell you that we're fully, getting all these working automatically without human intervention. Not yet, obviously not. But we're moving forward, and a lot is thanks to the technology that we're relying on.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you. Gary, coming to you next. Same question. Tell us how UT is, managing the integration of AI and technology through your organization.
Yeah, for sure. So echoing a lot of what my two colleagues just expressed, I think we all share some degree of common challenges as we navigate AI. I would say I'm coming from a perspective of we're right in the midst of shaping what do we want our campus network to look like for the next 20 years. And that's your basic speeds and feeds. So, as far as like we've got folks that are doing research or instruction on AI, we have a new requirement for dark fiber to locations we haven't typically had to do before, a need for speeds and feeds that we typically haven't needed to do before. That's pretty straightforward. Selfishly, something that I'm looking forward to for AI is the maturity of agentic AI. So I would love to have a team of 30 network engineers that are out there getting after it every day. That's unrealistic. The quantity of problems for us to solve is not reducing. So how can we affect that? Well, that's where I'm looking to the agentic AI, looking to delegate authority, not responsibility, but authority for routine tasks to free up our people to focus on more wicked problems. provide assessment mechanisms, like how do we characterize the health and readiness of our network environment. And I'd like to use that to replace manual tasks, not speed them up. So, automating, deployment of a switch configuration, cool. I would like to go, one step further that is able to, let's remove the human from that aspect of it. Now, there will definitely have to have some quality controls, and I'm sure that we will stub our toe on things as we look to adopt that going forward. But that's again what I'm looking to get out of it. And I'll pause there for you, Gina.
No worries. That's great, Gary. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next topic, which I think is incredibly important as we're talking about AI specifically. There are a lot of concerns around cybersecurity, privacy of confidential of information, right? Universities, higher education facilities just have so much in student information and financial information, and particularly organizations, all of you are involved in research efforts and significant amounts of information there. So given this and the prolific use also of IoT devices, and the edge of your campus could be anywhere. It's now maybe it's in a coffee shop or it's at someone's home. And agentic AI is definitely, being used in a lot of higher education applications in different ways, right? So tell us a little bit about how you're ensuring that your security posture, your cybersecurity posture adapts to these new challenges. Gary, I'm going to stay with you for that question.
Yeah, for sure. So for all the things that you just described, so both for my CIO's top three priorities, two of them you listed specifically. So AI and security. The third is identity. And to come back to one of my previous points, so identity is our center of gravity for a lot of things going forward. Prior to, or like even now, our network environment is very traditionally architected, and it is built for an on-premises experience. Now that our security model is really no longer valid, i.e., the typical castle and moat approach, because we've got kids are all over the place. We're aiming to shift from a device-based access to one that is predicated on identity. So we're looking to have a consistent user experience regardless of location. So whether you're on campus, you're in a classroom, you're in a dorm, you're in a dining hall, you're off campus in a coffee shop or your apartment or whatnot, that our users have a consistent level of experience, and that's primarily going to be looked at access. And then for us as the folks that are sustaining that environment, we're looking to have a consistent security policy for all of those instances. So we don't want to have to go and chase 5 different teams to affect a security policy in 5 different locations. Some technical components of that. So microsegmentation, yes. Device fingerprinting, yes. Enrolling devices in endpoint management, yes. All those things. If I had to pick like a single term that describes all of what we're trying to accomplish, a secure service edge would probably be the closest of what I'm endeavoring to realize now. We've got lofty goals, so we're thinking big and starting small, and we'll likely iterate on this as we go forward. And what it will be at some point in the future, who knows? We'll see what time gives for us. But I'll pause there, Gina.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Jorge, coming to you next. So talk to me about security and how ASU is approaching security with the advent of AI and other emerging technologies.
Absolutely. And Gary's absolutely right. Identity is key, right? The way we're looking at things is different today. So security is evolving quickly. And, in the past, you would talk about a student having a device. Now the average is at least 3 devices per student, right? All over the place. And that's before they go to the dorm and they connect to their PlayStation. So yes, it's a big, big thing. You have a lot of remote endpoints, and now you're going to have agentic AI too also lurking around. So we're leaning into zero trust, right? Automated policy enforcement. So we have to have a network that adapts to the technologies that are coming in, right? Arista allows to do this. So a big difference here is that we have real-time visibility. We can see what is going around. We can see the telemetry, and we can see every device, every flow. If there's an anomaly across campus or in another campus, we can look at it. So that kind of proactive security is what is keeping us ahead. So we're in the midst of implementing and achieving zero trust, right? That's hard to do, but we're working towards that. But that would be the main point on all these and how we're handling networking and security.
Okay, great. Ozzer, coming to you next. How is
Yeah.
Caltech contending with this challenge?
Right. As Gary and Jorge mentioned, zero trust, identity, these are the main challenges, right? Similar situation, students, so many devices. But imagine a campus where you can still get an IP address, a public IP address, the moment you connect without a NAC. So we are in that situation, but we are very aggressive on the security side. We have been experimenting some of Arista products like MSS, NDR, agning those product lines. So we'll see how those can help us down the road. But we are definitely heavily invested, for example, on CrowdStrike so that we can manage a lot of end user experimentation which they the network
I just kind of on what
runs.
Sorry, keep going,
Yeah.
Ozzer.
Right. So those are some of the product lines, but it's a start for us. And we recently deployed some border firewalls as well. We never had those that as an opportunity. It was an open campus, just like other campuses. So we have just started. Zero trust is also a big thing for us. SASE appliances, SASE applications. We are trying to see that how we can have more and more of those single point of entry for the users instead of the traditional VPNs. Where you can have better control than those standard VPN appliances. So there are different areas where we are focusing heavily.
Okay, great. So I have a question before I ask the next question. I'm curious how each of your organizations manages guest Wi-Fi. So if a student or a new faculty member comes in, are they accessing a separate network? How do you have that set up today? Or hey, I'm going to come to you first on that.
That is really interesting that you're asking about that because that's something that we have just deployed. In the past, Wi-Fi guest access was some kind of convoluted process to get in, right? You have to get in the network. We don't know where are you coming from. So we have to authenticate you, right? So we have to ask you, who are you? We give you a temporary password and then we let you in, right? We have changed that and that thinking about identity and thinking about things work out, what we have done is that we basically have diverted our path, of the guest Wi-Fi outside of what we can call the ASU secure network, right? And we have just deployed that. So that's what I'm saying is really interesting. So we have managed. So now if you come into ASU, you can see the ASU guest SSID, but you don't have to authenticate. But what we're doing is diverting you out directly to internet with help of other partners. But that's what we're doing today, right? So we're walking away from the fact that even if you do or any multi-factor authentication, now it's not necessary. You just go out there. So that's something that also students, and faculty and staff that does not need to be authenticated because they're not working with research or any security systems or anything that should be, within the network. We don't have to worry about it anymore, right? It just diverts directly. So that changes a lot of things. Obviously, the usage of the network and the way things are now and the way we look at them, how our NOC reacts to things. So we're just in the middle of deploying all that. And I have to say it has been, a journey, but a journey that has been much easier than what I thought at the beginning. Thank you. And thankfully to the Arista technology that we're working with.
Awesome. Ozzer, also same question to you. Do you have a separate guest network? How does that work within your organization for a new student, new faculty member coming in? And then perhaps in your case, researchers who may have access to highly confidential and sensitive information? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think Jorge used a term, it's a journey, right? So we have gone through this journey from different versions of how we can provide a guest wireless. And every campus has a different trend on how some campuses, they just like AUP, just click and you are on the guest wireless, right? And then you are behind the campus, not behind the campus backbone, a separate side network where you connect, where you have a separate IP block for the public. So we've gone through similar situations. We used AnyRoam. We used SMS, text messages as well. But in many of the countries, they started charging a lot. So we went from SMS over to the AnyRoam, and then now we have a different mechanism using the Aruba ClearPass that you register, and it pops you the password, and you are still you are on the guest wireless, right? It's a SSID like Caltech visitor. So you will join that SSID. It has like different public IP addresses like everyone else. And it has a different limitation of what you can do, what ports are allowed for all the campus traffic. Still go through the firewall, but it's a open free area for any of the campus guests, whoever wants to come in. For the researchers, then it's different. For the staff faculty, it's different. There are different SSIDs when you join in. So based on the identity, all those authentications are done properly so that whoever logs in as a staff, faculty, researcher, then they have a different environment where you have more privileges. Okay. We're also looking at the personal area network, for example, those small wireless groups. The kids come in, they have their own devices in their dorms, in their rooms, and they want to have just like a home type of environment. So we have deployed the PANs in DOMs for select locations, and this has been very successful using the Aruba products. Plus, just like everyone else, AgiRoam is there.
Yeah. And Gina, if you allow me, because I would be remiss if I do not mention this, but the way we're doing that is, with Cloudflare, right? That's what we're using. That's who we're partnering with, besides our Arista infrastructure.
Right, gotcha. Okay, Gary, same question. How does UT do that?
Yeah, so our current solution is much like how Jorge described it. What we're aiming to go for is, again, what Jorge described. So we're looking to get to basically it's everyone who comes on campus, whether you're a student, faculty, staff, or a guest, you have access to our untrusted wireless network. You see it, you connect to it, off and away you go. In parallel with our modernization effort, we're looking to deploy ETLS for our wireless clients. And then that is how we're going to place our UTK affiliated users and their devices onto our trusted network. And we were going to drive them to AgiRoam. So when we look at our various SSIDs that we have, the one that we invest in the most is AgiRoam. So we tune and tailor that to offer the best possible experience. Example, we have turned off 2.4 on AgiRoam. It's 5 gigahertz only. We'll likely go to some degree of increased channel separation for AgiRoam, again, to provide an optimal performance for that. I would love to say that we can start turning off our ability to support certain things. So like older clients that are 2.4 only, or older clients that don't support a particular. We've got too wide, it's too much variance in our requirements that we're unable to do so. So rather than trying to fight that, we're going to embrace it and say, cool, we'll let you onto our network, but you're not going to get access to anything. You're just going to get a path to the internet, and then out and away you go. The other aspect that we have, so we do have some large public venues that have fan-facing wireless cables. So think like our football stadium, our basketball arena, they all have guest-facing wireless. That's entirely separate infrastructure. So we run two wireless environments. Now they're under the same management platform, and it's the same architecturally. So that way, for our administrators, they're not having to learn a second system. But we do that. There's security reasons for it. There's performance reasons for it. There are budgetary performance, i.e., it's much easier for us to do the negotiations with our athletics department when it comes to who pays for what, if they've got their own separate infrastructure. If we blend it all into one, is a license, if a student is inside the football stadium, does their license count there? But if they're a student sitting on in a classroom, anyway, so that's another way how we help affect the guest wireless problem set.
Great. And Gary, while we're talking about that, that kind of bleeds into the student experience, or in the case of the sports stadium, the fan experience. Anything else that you might add in terms of initiatives, rather, where UT is leveraging technology to improve collaboration, research, remote learning, all the things?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of different ways. So the student experience is our chancellor's number one priority, and that's going to mean different things to different people within the university. To help us reach students, we have adopted a unified CRM platform, basically it's Salesforce. And we are trying to drive as much of the student engagement into that platform. So it's one data set, one application. An example is, instead of passing out paper tickets to get access to an on-campus student event, everything is all done through a digital app that is embedded within that Salesforce ecosystem. Cool. However, that has highlighted some gaps in our network infrastructure. So when we have a student event with 7,000 students that show up and say, hey, everyone needs to do online or virtual tickets to gain access, one would think that they would download the tickets before they show up. They don't. They get there, and you now only have like a handful of APs supporting a super concentrated environment. Performance is not there. So we're now having a trickle down impact of, okay, we now have to relook some of this infrastructure and add more stuff to support those folks. What we've also seen is, so we have a goal to increase our student enrollment. We are accomplishing that primarily through online students. And there's two parts to it. So one, they're purely online degree programs that we offer, but then we also offer hybrid programs. The hybrid programs have seen a challenge in how do we bring online students into the classroom directly. And we're accomplishing that through, I'll just say, immersive audiovisual systems inside our classroom. So think the fourth wall, or whatever that you want to structure you want to have. That's added further complications because now we have increased needs in our access edge for performance to support AV technologies. Sometimes those AV technologies don't want to play well with routed networks. So to help solve that problem, what we're now starting to explore is, can we support a converged network, that this network supports not only just standard access to internet and all the stuff that we're offering today, but can it also support our AV system? So we're not having to operate a separate AV network. So think things like, really tailored QoS policies, additional protocols like PTP being available across campus. How can we support, back to the device fingerprinting and microsegment? How can that all be engineered to allow classroom technology to operate on a common platform rather than having multiple separate ones? And I'll pause there.
All right, Azar, same question to you. Tell us about the student experience and the work that the technology side of of Caltech is performing. How are you helping to improve those areas?
Yeah, so we are more into developing like Zoom rooms. And Zoom rooms, they are most for the researchers because our more population is towards the research side. So the Zoom rooms are available. One of the challenge that we have seen, for example, with them is the Crestron devices. They are not that great in terms of the security. So we need to definitely secure those environments. So what we are doing is totally segmenting that environment, making sure that Zoom rooms and restaurant, all those appliances, they are fully secured in a solid environment. Other than that, what we have done is enhanced a lot of within campus outdoor access points. This started from the time of the pandemic. There was a need because you will see like tents outside the buildings and chairs, and students are sitting over there. So Wi-Fi was not that great in the outdoor spaces. So that a lot of focus has been diverted towards that, and we improved a lot of outdoor spacing just because of this. So that has helped a lot of students, everywhere, Wi-Fi calls everywhere as well, as the phones or the devices roam across the campus. So that has helped. Also, security cameras, for example, it has helped in those requirements, not just the student experience. I mean, everything is all bundled together. Now we have more reach, more availability for those security devices. Yeah.
Okay, great. Jorge, coming to you. How is ASU? How are you and your team helping to support the student experience?
Yeah, Gina, first of all, the student experience is what drives us, right? And in all our cases. And speaking of all our cases, I have to give props to Gary for bringing the fourth wall into the conversation. Sure, Deadpool would be proud. So that was awesome, Gary. Thank you. So yes, one of the biggest shifts we made was during the rapid expansion of hybrid learning. And yes, COVID started that, but now it's more prevalent on how things are working out. And with same as Gary mentioned, we're trying to bring those online learners to our classrooms, right? So how do we improve these? Wi-Fi automation, infrastructure as a code has allowed us to, make things work so that the experience is better for them. But and more than anything else, to have no compromise in the quality of the networking that they're getting. It's a given, right? Student shows up, they don't even think about the network. They know it's going to be there, it's going to work. So how are we going to make this better? It's not just in the classroom, right? It's collaboration in research. And Gary was also mentioning immersive VR classrooms. We're doing this. We have a huge project that you might have heard about. It's called Dreamscape, right? Originally, this was an application that was set up in one single space. Eventually, we moved it to our data center, and now it's spreading out to the different campuses. How do we do that? How do we make that better? We have a metro fiber ring that, help us to provide 100 gig, speeds. And then we went to 400 and 800. And now we're connecting everything in this new project where we're creating SparkNet. And what we're doing is using Arista technology, different optics, to change the way this fiber ring is managed, achieving up to 1.6 terabit speeds, which is unheard of, but it's something that helps researchers and the student experience, right? So now we're proving that we can do VR applications that have a lot of latency needs and jittering, that can happen. And now we're providing those kind of things. So expanding has been great, but the technology has helped us consistently, right? So we provide this consistent digital experience for the students, whether they are in Tempe, or West Campus or downtown LA, right? So at that point is when connectivity becomes invisible, and that's what we're trying to do, right? That's exactly how students should feel about it. It's just there, it works, and their experience is perfect. So,
Great.
thank you.
Outstanding. All right, so next couple questions. I'm just doing a quick time check, but I know that the audience wants to hear more from you than anyone. So I'm staying with you, Jorge. So tell me about budgeting. So all of these things that we're talking about obviously come with a price, and higher ed is, under quite a bit more pressure than they've ever been for a multitude of reasons. Tell us just, a little bit about how you're helping to optimize and contend with budget constraints.
Budget constraints, don't we love them? Absolutely. Yeah, in higher ed, every technology dollar competes with direct student services. So, cost efficiency shouldn't be negotiable. It's not negotiable, right? So how do we do that? So let's go back to something I talked about in the beginning. By running one OS across campus, right? Data center, Wi-Fi, we reduce operational costs. But I see that in thinking again about the day-to-day operational costs, right? I would point at three basic things, right? Obviously, what I said in operational efficiency, we have one OS, right? Automation, right? This reduces the operational cost considerably, right? And we're doing that. We're getting to the point of zero-touch provisioning. We have tested that's in place. It's working, allows us to deploy, in different campuses as we go and as we continue to transform the network. But at the end of the day, I think something that we all should look for is that total cost of ownership, right? When you add performance, security, working done, reducing the overhead, it's simply phenomenal. So working on the total cost of ownership will help you to go to your central finance group and talk about how these costs have been reduced. There's always going to be a constraint. We need to remember that we're in a space that what we're doing today, transforming our technology, we're going to be here in 3 to 5 years again, because it's always a cycle. So we need to find a way to reduce this OpEx, right? It's different when we do these capital investments. That might be easier, but the day-to-day is not as easy to get into our budgets. So a partnership like this, like I said, total cost of ownership is key on what we do.
Great. Azar, financials, the budget, how does Caltech, how do you contend with providing that seamless experience to students and faculty while managing the budget, managing through constraints?
So no doubt it's a challenge. We all talk about this one, but the thing is that how do we manage our capital expenses versus the operation, the OpEx, right? So OpEx for sure, now as we are getting more and more towards a single OS like Arista EOS, so that has helped reducing the load on the FTE side. From the telemetry, from easy fault finding, less time on the road for the engineers. There's a lot of telemetry that we are actively using now. We were not using in the past, but things have changed. So we are more and more on these technologies. Automation a lot. For the capital expense, for example, if you're kicking in new projects, then for sure we need to work with research groups. And whether it's a new building, it's a new lab, or whatever is coming. So sometimes things are part and parcel that in a new building, for example, it is part of that project, right? So we propose and how then it gets funded properly. Of course, you have to design, justify, engineer it properly, and talk with all the stakeholders within that environment. So that's one way, but 5-year cycle, 7-year cycle, 10-year cycle, that's a tough thing that within a campus environment, sometimes it's a struggle. But as long as there is a proper work done, on how you are looking at your OpEx and how you are targeting your CapEx. Unless there's a major churn across the fundings, our management is very acceptable to all these opportunities.
Okay, great. Gary, tell us a little bit about how you approach that.
Yeah, for sure. So time will tell, because we're at a significant point of inflection right when it comes to cost optimization. So because of all the technical change, I would say the jury's still out on what's, are we being better or worse at it? Some of the actions that we've taken, so historically, not just within IT, but in other, I'll just say administrative aspects of the university, we were heavily focused on getting one-time dollars to get something, deploy it, let it sit there, and don't touch it until you need to. I'll share some could say this is like really cool, or some folks like, man, this is actually really scary. So earlier this week we checked a one of our switches, and it has an uptime of 16 years. Yeah, like crazy, right? That thing's old enough to drive. And that's really neat that it's been up to now. That's in a building that's got, multiple backup power and all that other stuff that goes with it. But on the other hand, it's like really scary as far as like, hey, we got infrastructure that's that old out there. And so now we're starting to shift into an OpEx model, and that's primarily being affected through our cloud adoption strategies. Additionally, we have historically funded network investments through a cost recovery model. So we would charge departments on a per port basis. Well, as we've gone now to a wireless first approach to end user devices, we've now adopted a centralized billing model that, hey, we essentially charge departments each year, and that gets deducted from their overall operating budget, and that comes to our network team, and that's their money that they can use to now proactively support network needs. So rather than having to be reactive, now we can lean forward and actually start conducting life cycle activities. For capital projects, the infrastructure spend is now accounted for on the front end of the project rather than the rear. Again, this is a change in process, as historically we being the IT department have waited until we have very granular details, number of users, number of workstations, so on and so forth, to populate a budget for IT. And usually when you're at the tail end of the project, the first thing that gets reduced is the IT spend. So now we've shifted to a model that we estimate IT spend based off of use case of the particular facility and then square footage. And we say, okay, based off of these two factors, here's what we feel is going to be the IT spend. And that has been in cooperation with our capital projects office to help us be better predictors of that IT spend. The third way that we're doing this is we now see a greater willingness amongst our various departments to pool purchasing power for capabilities, not just at the department level, but also at the campus level. And now we're also starting to see it from one academic institution and another inside our state. So our sister schools in the state, we're now collaborating to be able to say, hey, the two of us combined, or the three of us, or whatever the number is, we can get much more capable resources if we come together as a group rather than trying to buy it singly. And then the last part is, as we're going through this modernization effort, we're looking to sunset legacy systems and converge them where we can. So if I can get away with one box to do what three other boxes were doing, great. I will put AI into part of that is it can help us. A lot of times we have point solutions for certain things that we can look to leverage more capable technologies to offer. It may not be a direct one-to-one replacement, but we can get pretty daggum close with that. And I'll pause there, Gina.
That's great. Very good. I think we could keep talking on that subject for a very long time, and we've got about 7 minutes left. So just very quickly, Gary, while I'm still with you, any closing reflections or any thoughts that you would like to share with others? And would love to, we can continue this conversation another time, but.
Yeah, for sure. So I would offer 2 points. So the first is build a coalition, and these are not like earth shattering, but I would say build a coalition of advocates for the added capabilities by avoiding the trap that whatever you're trying to do is just another IT project. So speak in terms of capability gain, speak in terms that our faculty, students, and non-IT staff can understand. Because if you do like that, you're a lot more willing to get their buy-in and support for it. And the second, think big and start small. Part of our strategy is accepting the idea that we're no longer able to deploy a 15 or 10-year solution. Our lifespans are much shorter, so we need to be iterative. If you use a buzzword, I'd say agile when we look to deploying solutions, but recognizing that we're going to be touching things a lot more frequently. And so if we might not be able to get what we want right out of the gate, hey, give it a couple of episodes or a couple of evolutions, and then we're there. That's what I got for you, Jan.
That's awesome. Thanks, Gary. Jorge, coming to you next, some closing reflections, thoughts, that you would like to
Sure.
impart to your peers in the higher ed space?
Absolutely, Gina. So my advice to other institutions is don't treat networking as just a utility, right? It is a strategic enabler, and we need to look at it the other way, right? You need to look for the platforms that give you intangibles like automation, standardization. Those are what free your teams to focus on innovation instead of the day-to-day firefighting that we are all too familiar with in the past, right? For me, the big takeaway is that really partnership matters. With Arista, it hasn't been just about hardware or software. It's about building a foundation that let us grow and adapt without adding complexity or cost. And we really researched this, and we've really been working on this. So it's key to find a partner that can help you through this, again, journey, right? At the end of the day, we're just not managing systems. We are architecting a connected, inclusive, forward-thinking university experience for all the students, right? Faculty, researchers. And that really excites me. So when you think about this, about the future of networking, also think about a partner that can walk with you getting to this future. Thank you, Gina.
Great. Thanks, Jorge. Azar, coming to you. Any parting thoughts, reflections that you'd like to impart to others, your peers?
Yeah, no, definitely. The partnership is a key game over here. Not just with the vendors, but within your own environment as well. That how well you partner with the big stakeholders, big labs, different groups, understand their needs, and really provide them the right solution. And sometimes do not impose the solution, but rather talk with them, because sometimes they have been so much innovative and they have been looking for the needs, and they never speak up. So listen to your insiders, work with your with partners outside like Arista over here, and then we can really build a very neat solutions for the community.
Great. Awesome. Well, very good. So next up, we're going to go ahead to the Q&A. So Mike Rao, you're out there moderating questions for us. Just wanted to give you a chance to see if there's anything we need to answer live.
Yeah, we really just have one question out there from Brian Simpson, and I think Jorge, it's more directed to you, and I think the others can answer as well. But the question comes: how do you handle guest Wi-Fi clients who have devices that are unable or restricted to connect to open SSIDs? And I think Jorge, I recall you said your guest SSID is just open; it defaults out to the internet, dumps them out there. But I know there's a lot of IoT devices out there students bring, who knows what, that sometimes requires a password SSID. So.
The dreaded exceptions, right? That's what we're dealing with, and it's always different, right? So yes, absolutely, we have obviously encountered those sites, right? Especially, we were talking about how we just deployed these during the summer break. So here comes the beginning of the semester, and we get a call and we say, oh, by the way, we have devices here that require these. So we're working on that, and what we've done, and whoever asked that question, I would be definitely happy to put you in contact with our engineering team or architects that have worked on those different solutions. But you have to analyze each of them, right? So we did work them out, but there are different cases out there that it is possible. In this case, in this particular case, we basically created an SSID for that. The stadium was a different case too, where we had the food provider going through a different thing. We had to give them their own space and everything else. So different cases. Again, I'm open, to get in contact with whoever is asking that question and working with them.
Okay, thank you for that.
Gary or Azar?
No, I'll skip.
We're good to go with that one.
Very great. All right. Any further questions, Mike?
No, that was the only one out there.
Okay, great. All right, so next up, a couple quick things. So we're going to throw out a poll for future topics of additional higher education webinars. So if you can take a few moments as we go into the next section to answer the poll, it's just a couple quick minutes to answer it. Appreciate everybody's feedback. And next up, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Martin, who's going to take us through a few closing remarks. But before I do, Scott, I just want to thank you again, Jorge, Gary, Azar. Thank you so much for giving us your time this morning. This is phenomenal. I really feel like we could have kept talking for another 30, 40 minutes, but we all have jobs to do. I know you guys are very busy. So thank you again for your time and participation. Scott, over to you.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. First of all, thanks for, Jorge, Azure, Gary, your insights were very valuable overall. And thank you for sharing your experiences as well, too. So today we're going to wrap up really quickly. We're going to talk about how universities keep up with the pace of technology and how we can help them lead into the future, if you will. The landscape of higher education is rapidly evolving, and at its core, these institutions are looking for solutions that can handle complex demands of modern academia. So if you look at the core, the center of this diagram is what we call EOS, Extensible Operating System. You can think of this as a central nervous system that connects and powers various parts of a university's digital infrastructure, making sure that everything runs smoothly and efficiently through a single operating system. We look at research and education networks, right? This is the backbone providing robust high-speed network connectivity that supports everything from online classes to large-scale data transfers for researchers across multiple universities. Athletics and sports media, I know we touched on this earlier in the conversation as well too, but with the rise of live streaming, content creation as well too, athletic departments need reliable network infrastructure to deliver high-quality media experience to fans and students alike as well too. And I know we touched on this. I know Jorge and Azure and Gary also mentioned the student experience being first and foremost, right? So this is way more than just Wi-Fi. It's about seamless, secure connectivity for students across dorms, lecture halls, common areas, enabling a truly modern learning environment for our students. Lastly, last but not least, I should say, research, right? Something that's very near and dear to my heart as well too. But this is where cutting edge discovery happens. High performance compute and AI requires immense amount of bandwidth and low latency. Our solutions, we built purpose-built solutions specifically to address those resource-intensive applications. Next generation data centers, right? This is where Arista got its start. This is essentially, it's more than handling data than ever before. These university systems have a bulk of data. So we can help build scalable, efficient, secure data center networks to manage everything from administrative records to complex research data. And then lastly, but not least, the cognitive campus, right? This is the future. This is all about creating a smart, automated campus environment from smart buildings to security systems, all powered by a cohesive network overall. So in short, with EOS as the foundation, we can help universities build a unified, intelligent, scalable infrastructure that not only supports their current needs, but is also ready for what comes next as well. And then as benefits of adopting the modern education campus, right? A lot of folks mention this. Networking is no longer a nice to have. The need for 24/7 networking and access is paramount. Things such as zero-touch provisioning, error-free automation through network automation, being able to do in-service upgrades essentially means that we can now provide our faculty and students near zero or zero downtime overall. And this has an immediate impact on the student and faculty population because we're able to essentially provide continuous connectivity, which leads for a much more improved user experience. And we talked about security today as well too. It's well known that university systems are constantly under threat with advanced things such as being able to detect and mitigate threats through network detection remediation, being able to do granular segmentation through micro-segmentation policies and the like, and essentially ensures that our university systems can be compliant. And lastly, because we garner the efficiencies of scale through automation overall, this leads to a much lower total cost of ownership and much more improved ROI, if you will. So I guess I'll close off with this. What can a network that is simple to operate, scalable, and secure, what can it provide? And the answer is everything. So our call is, what can we build together? What can we do next together? And with that, we'll close it off with EDUCAUSE. We will be at EDUCAUSE. We're happy to sponsor the event again this year. So for any of you folks that are going to be going to EDUCAUSE, we'd love to continue the conversation with you as well too. We will be at booth 115. We'll have live demos. We'll have a vast array of folks there supporting the conference as well too. So bring your questions, bring your challenges. We're more than happy to help out. We're also kicking off EDUCAUSE with 2 different events. We've got a social hour at the Hampton Social, which is basically an opportunity to peer with your networking group, with your fellow peers as well too. And then lastly, we also have an executive dinner where your executives can essentially spend time with our executives and our product management team as well too, where we can share insights and also extend with your peers. Gina, anything else to add?
No, the only thing I would add, folks, is we're happy to host. I'm based here in Nashville, Tennessee. We're happy to be the host city and look forward to seeing everyone there. And again, just wanted to thank everyone very much for participating in today's session. And again, thank you so much to our esteemed panelists, Gary, Azar, and Jorge. Thank you so much for a great session. We look forward to seeing you. All right. Thanks, everyone.